Hi, welcome to this week's CS on Air. We're talking today to Genevieve Smith-Nunes, who is going to be telling us about how she uses Greenfoot to teach Java programming to her class. So Genevieve, thanks for joining us, and over to you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just going to explain kind of why I chose it. Okay, Greenfoot has been developed by some professors at the University of Kent, and it was literally developed to enable students to understand object-oriented programming using Java, and it's a very, very simple interface. There's no need to kind of understand sort of IDEs and things like that because it's all built in. And I've been doing that for a couple of years. We generally use it starting in year 9 and then maybe sort of 10. And I also use it with my A-level classes because it's quite good for using sort of games and simulations, and that's the real sort of purpose and drive for it. With the way that it works, it allows the students to actually see the sort of object-oriented hierarchy and things like that in the environment. So it's quite simple for the students to see kind of where things are linked and where files need to go, and so that's quite useful. I'm just going to, they have lots of resources and on their website, and it's just going to kind of load it up now. And there's a specific section for teachers as well. And if I'm just going to do a screen share just so you can see where the website is. Hang on, let me just do screen share. And then you'll be able to see kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the Greenfoot site. So this is the site that allows you to access resources, tutorials, templates, any sort of queries or questions. So it's very, very useful. It's very user kind of friendly. You do need to log in to the section, which is the green room is for sort of anyone that's delivering it. And if you just enter the site, so I'm just going to show you without actually logging in kind of what you can get and what you can do from it. So there's lots of people that have done lots of different scenarios, so you can have a check and see what they look like. Anyone that's got any sort of questions. So the about explains kind of what Greenfoot is and why it's developed. And as you can see here, this is what the environment looks like. Now this is based on the sort of Wombat tutorial, which is one of the first ones that are in the sort of Greenfoot book. And this is developed using a sort of grid method. So, but this is the pixel size of the screen, and obviously you can make this higher resolution. And again, what I was talking about earlier in the class hierarchy, you can see here already the sort of parent-child relationship between the actors and things. In regards to the language itself, it hasn't been modified. There's no deviations or anything from Java. They just have lots of built-in methods already for you, but you can create your own. It just allows the users to build on the programming language without actually having to understand the sort of full details of it. So a lot of it's already built in for you. So you end up with two screens. The first one is the kind of what the render looks like, your kind of final game or your actual visualization of it. And then you have the editor or the IDE. And it looks very much like this, as you can see here. And then obviously there are lots of teacher resources in terms of the program. So then if we go to the documentation part of the site, you can see here there's one of the best things that they've done is actually developed this kind of video blog called The Joy of Code, done by Michael Coling, who developed it. And there's two kind of videos that go with each section. One of them is actually doing it, and the other one is actually sort of the pedagogy of it, so like how you would actually teach it and how you would actually deliver it. And you can see here there's like all of the, just to give you an idea of how many videos there are, you can see here that he's gone through all of the different bits, and you can see he's got a teaching commentary section. And this is really to allow the teachers to sort of take a higher view of Greenfoot and make sure that they're kind of understanding why and how they're teaching it. So it's really good in that, because that's quite helpful, because sometimes you can actually get the students to look at those videos as well, so they understand the kind of the background to it. So it's not just for you as a teacher, it's actually quite a good learning tool. And they're really, really short, most of the videos. If I just sort of play one for you, apart from the video intro, which is kind of noisy, but they're not very long, the videos. They're no more than sort of 10 minutes. There might be a bit of an issue if you've got a YouTube block. That would be the one thing I would say. If you are kind of blocked on it, then you will have to sort of maybe download them, or obviously go through you as a teacher, because sometimes that's a little bit of an issue. But yeah, so if we go back again, so this is me not logging into the site, and then if you look at here, you can look at all of the API of Greenfoot. So you can look, you know, what do they just do for image, and you can see straight away what methods are available to the students without them having to actually develop anything themselves, and that's the really helpful bit for them. And again, obviously there's a bit of an issue with any of these, and that's the sort of error messaging, and that's one of the things that they're sort of developing and changing, is that the error messaging actually makes sense to a human being, and not the sort of, you know, weird error messages that come up when you're actually compiling code. So in terms of the help, and there's everything that is available, and a really good thing here is if you have quite advanced students, or you have quite a long time to do things, there's an amazing sort of interactivity that you can do with Greenfoot. And again, obviously, like everything, there's limitations based on cost and skills, etc. So obviously, do be aware of that. But you can obviously here, like you can see, you can link it with a Connect, Pico board, and again, what they've done here is the AP Computer Science is based on the American program, so that's just for any of the UK, European teachers what this is about. And then I don't use the Wombat tutorial. I developed a new one which I did part of with the Beamer project, which is the British Interactive Media. They had a D-Day, and I'll just show you, if I go back to my screen share, I can actually show you actually what I'm talking about. So Beamer developed this challenge to actually link industry experts from this sort of interactive media world with students, to sort of show them what skills shortages there are, what it's like to work in a design agency. And they've done a coding challenge, which is actually Greenfoot. And this is run in October, and it goes through all of the sections. If I just show you a kind of page, as you can see here, it's using the same Wombat tutorial, and then it has challenges for the students to do. And as you can see, it gives you little code snippets, which is really, really useful. This is available on their website as a PDF download. Obviously, because I did the challenge, they send you some printed copies and stuff. So that's really, really useful. And that's why I thought, well, actually, the Wombat tutorial doesn't kind of give the feel for interactive media. It doesn't give you a kind of funky type of feel. So what I did is I developed a new one, which is actually, I did one called the a zombie tutorial, because obviously who doesn't like zombie shoot 'em ups? So I'm just going to show you kind of what I did and why, and sort of give you an idea of what this was about. So obviously the students had 1 to 2 lessons prior to this. These are A-level students, so these are year 12 students, so they're sort of 16, 17. And one of the key things that we were looking at is this here, refactoring the code, making it simple. And then we created a new class called Mover Class, and we did set rotation. So, and what they developed was a game where we had these 8-bit zombies, basically with a hero in the center shooting around. So that's these files that you will find in my GitHub repository. There's a teacher file and there's a student file, and they are very much for showing how you can actually change and actually allow the students to have some sort of creativity in it as well. So as you can see here, there is like using coordinates at World Edge. So there's lots of really interesting things that the students can do in terms of kind of modifying their game, making sure that they actually want to have certain instructions in there. So as you can see, this is kind of what the heroes look like and what the zombies look like, obviously. And it's a very, very simple game that can be edited and delivered however you wish. And it's only got a few characters, which allows you to do kind of lots more things with it. So And this is the actual resource that we give to the students. And again, this is available in the Zombie repository. So what we wanted them to do is really think about how you would get your sort of heroes and students to think, the heroes to actually develop the game. They were working in pairs or threes, and this was really a really good idea for the students in terms of developing their programming skills. We always sort of, when we're initially teaching any new programming language, we always do it in at least pairs. And that's really quite a good way of teaching new programming languages because they feel quite comfortable with each other. What we tended to do was put them in pairs. We tried two different methods. One was a sort of friendship pair, and the other one was a sort of skill match. So they were of an equal footing as opposed to sort of, instructor-student model, which we use later on when they're having issues. We change the pairing so they have an instructor-student model in terms of who's good in terms of the delivery of how we do teaching the code. So one of the good things is that they can, like within sort of an hour, if they did a very, very simple game, you can create like a two-player keyboard-controlled like space kind of adventure game and things like that. So as long as you give them the creativity to create the feel, the theme, the game mechanics of it, and you just want them to use specific code, you get a lot more out of it than by specifically giving them and locking down the kind of creativity parameters of it. So, so what we do is we always have the code in that we want them to use, and so that certainly if it's new. And again, here is like where we're refactoring the code. We're getting them to do this fire method, and we talk about why it's important to refactor your code in terms of when you're calling, and within Greenfoot it's called the act method, so that it helps the students understand, like, obviously most people have fire, some of them changed to shoot, laser blast, and that was all dependent on their game. So that was quite, as long as we had, and obviously we called it blob, they called it bullet, cannon, and things like that. So they had some kind of, they rewrote the code in their own way to suit their own game, which was, even though they were in some senses just copying the code, we never gave them a document where they can edit and copy the code either. So they have PDFs or they're images of the code, so they can't actually just, highlight and copy, which is a really good method as well to make sure that your students don't just copy and paste the code directly into the editor. They actually have to write it, and it's really good for them to get into write it, because sometimes they have the sort of capitalization or the camel case. If we have a look here, this is where they make errors. They don't necessarily use this sort of camel casing here and get that correct, or they kind of capitalize both parts of it. So one's calling the class and one's calling a new object of the class. So, which is why sometimes they get these two mixed up, which is quite a good way to do it if you make sure that they can't actually edit any of the code on any of the handouts that you give them. And you'll also find in there, which there's actually a student or PDF which actually has step-by-step instructions of adding and creating the things that we're going through in this file. And that's a really, really good way of actually getting the students to see if they can actually follow instructions. Because generally, if they haven't followed the instructions correctly, they generally just skip some of them, as opposed to you constantly going around and kind of editing their code for them, having a sort of step-by-step instructions when you're doing certainly new Java files or Java functions. So what we also added in was using random numbers, and this is quite good for the students who are not very confident with maths. So using random number and creating scoring really helps them kind of actually feel a little bit more confident of using maths, and certainly it's required within sort of any computer science arena. And because they understand, they like gaming, they understand scoring, it actually helps them sort of feel more confident about using it outside the classroom as well as just for your actual subject. So, and then this is what the zombie actual game looks like. And we basically, a lot of the students then modified it and made a zombie Minecraft version and things like that. So that was quite useful to have that. And then here was the last, we always set them a challenge. So even though we gave them all of the code, they could just repurpose it by using the same functions within Greenfoot just to create more levels, create a game over screen, and then the scoring. Again, this is very detailed on the Greenfoot website and certainly on the tutorial blog that Michael Coling's done. So it's one of the things that we want to teach them is, as well as the Java programming and the kind of fun environment that Greenfoot allows and the sort of simplicity as you as a teacher can use, is actually getting the students to think about, okay, I don't understand this, okay, where am I going to go next? Like that, the sort of learning method of how to find the next answer. So that's really key, is actually instead of sort of delivering it to them, you actually sort of facilitate their learning as opposed to sort of direct delivery. So that's kind of one of the things that is quite useful to do. If I just go back to me. So in terms of using Greenfoot, you'll find there's lots of files in the repository, which is, and I'm quite happy for anyone to use them. Feel free to modify. You know, you might have something better, which is great. But I absolutely love it. I think it's a great tool. It really helps them understand sort of object-oriented programming, the class hierarchy and structure, and actually they get something straight away, which is really, really important. They actually get like, you can get a working game within an hour if you have kind of bright students, ones that aren't causing sort of, you know, and you have that length of time to do it, and if they're a bit older. So, but yeah, no, it's really, really good. It's also, if you're in part of the animation competition that's run by Manchester University, Greenfoot is one of the games that you can submit for that. So there's lots of other things that you can do that can kind of help your students feel really, really comfortable and actually want to go and complete the game. That's one of the things that students kind of have a thing with, is that they actually don't necessarily come and complete it, but by having a sort of competition, things like the Beamer Day are really, really useful. And also in terms of the Greenfoot team, they're really, really helpful. You can ask the most kind of simple, you know, stupid question, if you want to call it that, and we all have them. They're like, oh, I can't remember what that is, and you know, they're really, really. That's the one thing, is that you don't feel kind of like it's the forums somewhere where you don't feel like you can ask simple questions. But yeah, but I'd advise anyone to download, go through the video blog and actually just have a go at it. Java's not that complicated, especially using the Greenfoot environment, and it's a really, really good start for object-oriented programming in your classroom. And that's what I have to say. Alison, you're on mute. Nope, you're still on mute. The joys of tech. So yeah. 1 minute. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So I did a talk while you're getting your mic up. I did a talk at Manchester as part of the Education Innovation Conference, where I spoke about this as well. I haven't managed. Somebody did film it on their phone for me. So, but I haven't quite managed to encode it so it's web suitable. But I'll put it in the same repository once I've done that, because I go through in more detail some of the teaching techniques, which is really important about teaching Java. So. And I've actually delivered this, actually Greenfoot, via a Hangout to 6 schools across the UK prior to an event we did. So if I can do it via a Hangout with 6 classes across the UK and different teachers, you can certainly view it. And it's quite good using the screen share, because you can just show bits of code. And one of the good things about Greenfoot is the sort of code blocking, highlighting colours. You can make quite dark, and you can make the font size really big, so it's quite good for it. It's a really good teaching tool in terms of that. So, are you back on yet, Alison? So yeah, so if anyone's got any questions, they can email me or post them underneath the link, and I'll have a go at them after I finish teaching, which is 5 o'clock. Yes, the Beamer Day, I'll actually get you the proper Beamer Day challenge, because if Beamer, obviously, Beamer D-Day is the name of the actual event. Again, for those of you not in the UK, this is actually a UK event, so apologies for everybody who are not there. But it's brilliant, and they're really nice, and you get to work with some really good digital agencies who aren't sort of focused on sort of computing and stuff like that, so which is really cool. So, and that's bmidday.org.uk. And also, if you go to the teaching resources section, there's loads of stuff on also mobile apps as well. So there's loads of PDFs that you can download, which are excellent teaching resources and really beautifully designed, which is another good thing in the teaching classroom. So yes, do you want me to end the talk? Okay, so actually, yes, so thank you everybody, and I'll see you soon.